Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with a question. So I'm going to show you a few scenarios and just think about what could be the common link between these experiences. So the first one is Taekwondo. I do Taekwondo, and if you spar, it's an extremely scary experience. Going to the military and signing up knowing that there's a very, very high chance of you being sent to war. Or signing up for an endeavor where, again, there's a very, very high risk of your spaceship blowing up. And what it is that there's a drive that is so strong that it overcomes a very basic instinct to preserve yourself, to keep yourself safe. And I think a lot of the conversations that we've been having over the past couple of days has been around changing human behavior, getting people to do hard things. And so these are all examples where millions of people, maybe not the space shuttle program, but Taekwondo, there are millions of black belts who regularly go out and fight, and of course in the military. So what is, how do you build such a drive like that? And my answer is, it's actually the power of a group working in a team, but in a very special environment. And what I wanted to share from my own experience building an organization that has reached roughly 1/3 people around the world is my sort of lessons and best insights. So it is about building an environment that builds the efficacy of the individual and then the efficacy of the team. And what I'm going to share here is all built on the research that has been done by Albert Bandura. He's at Stanford, and this is coming from a book called Exercise of Self-Control. So, but I've simplified it, and I'll call it the 4 E's to self-efficacy. And it is energy, exposure, the expectations, and experience. And so you can think about it as sort of the sliders on your boombox, and the perfect sort of pitch that you want. And each of us actually think about what drove you to do something really hard that you thought that you could not do before. And you may have some elements of these, but your sliders may be at different points. And that's just something to think about. So the first one is, when you ask someone to do something hard, it's always better to have them work in pairs or teams, because we are social human beings and we get so much energy from working with one another. The second really important one is that to have some sort of drama or a competition or suspense or excitement, that's why feature films are so popular all around the world, because it has all those elements in 1.5 hours. And the last one, and the really important one, is that don't forget that if you're hungry and sleepy and feeling unsafe, you're not going to want to try something hard. So too often, this was my own experience in the early years when we were raising funds, and we were putting in line items for food, because we work in very, very underserved communities. Funders would say, well, you are a STEM education nonprofit, why are you providing food? So that was something we had to educate our funders on. Number 2 is exposure, and you may know it as role models, but stories in the media, inspiring videos, these are very, very powerful to show. If you see people like yourself or someone who you can really identify with, they will that story can really make you go to the moon. And in a more in-person setting, trained mentors play a huge role in opening up possibilities to young people. And if you're thinking about building scalable interventions, always think about the technology is powerful, the content is powerful, but the most important thing is people. And how can you bring them to bring out the best in youth? The third one is expectations. And having very high expectations makes you do, you want to impress people that you respect. You want to impress your parents, your peers, your friends, your mentors. And that's an easy one, especially so many people will say, I got into this because I had a really good teacher, right? And today, James was talking about the love of math. I mean, so many teachers can ignite the love of math or do the opposite. And the last one, and this is the hardest one, which is video games do this incredibly well, which is designing the actual experience itself. So like I said, working in a team is the fastest way to motivate people to do something hard. But right away, then you have to think about what else is part of that experience. You need to have a clear goal. and it should be very, very easy to start. That's why video games are so addictive. And then another piece is that the feedback has to be very quick. It has to be unpredictable. The pacing of the feedback has also to be unpredictable, because we get bored very easily. And the last part is that there has to be reflection built into it, where you see yourself getting stronger and better, and that helps you recognize that your self-efficacy in one arena of your life can actually transfer to another. And that's sort of continually growing and getting stronger. And so I just wanted to share, so I started Technovation 15 years ago. Our mission is to empower girls and families from underserved communities to use cutting-edge technologies to tackle very difficult problems that they face. And we've reached roughly, like I said, 1/3 people around the world. And here are some of the examples that young girls age 8 to 18 are tackling. And what I learned, number one, was never underestimate a young person. However small they may be, they may not look as if they're understanding, but do not underestimate them. Give them the tools and you'll be surprised. The top left one, this is a group from Kenya working to help young girls who have gotten pregnant during COVID to continue learning and building and learning some entrepreneurial skills. The one in the middle is about monitoring forest fires in Cambodia, using some sort of machine learning to look at images to track forest fires. I love the one on the bottom right, from a team in Morocco to help mothers communicate better with their teenage daughters. That's a universal problem. And the one, all of these are my favorite. The top right is actually 2 orphans in an orphanage in India that made an app to help connect, use the case history of orphans as they get transferred from one orphanage to another. None of these apps can be created by people in Silicon Valley. They have to be developed by the people who are facing these problems. And so I wanted to share is we have spent the past 15 years taking those 4 elements and building it into a program that has scaled and has durable impact. And we did a longitudinal study following up with girls 10 years after they participated. And the numbers are, they just make us so proud. So 76% of alumni are pursuing STEM degrees. 60% of them are working in STEM careers. But the thing that we're most proud of is that almost 50% of them are leaders of some sort, starting something, building something. And they credit Technovation for doing this, because this was their first opening and door to saying that if that's a problem, I can solve it. And so I want to leave you with this question. There are 900 million teenage girls in the world. And climate change is a huge problem. We had quite a few groups tackle it. I don't know if many of you know this, but educating girls is the 6th most effective strategy for reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Rooftop solar is number 10. Electric vehicles is number 26. And so if you're thinking about, well, what could we do that is a very large-scale, effective, equitable way to make change, it's educating girls. And to empower them to tackle these problems in teams. And that's the solution for humanity, because there's no country in the world that has gender equality. So that's a great place to start. But that's also the solution for our planet. So thank you.